explain a little bit about Hazmat. Hazmat is actually controlled by the Department of Transportation, okay? When Amazon is enforcing Hazmat things, it's not because they're enforcing it, or it's not because they're rules that they made up, it's because the Department of Transportation enforced it. This also includes warehousing space. Department of Transportation controls warehouse. So let me give you a scenario. If I'm selling 1 gallon jugs of kerosene for kerosene heaters, that's obviously very flammable liquid, very hazardous if it breaks open and spills. Amazon does not like you selling that stuff unregulated because their trucks are carrying it and their warehouses are storing it, and they have to go through hurdles to make sure that they're compliant with Hazmat requirements for the country that they're in. The same thing applies to EU and Japan and Australia. So Amazon, because it's such a headache to transport, store, and fulfill the orders, they make it a little bit difficult. Now, let me get specifically into health and beauty. Health and beauty, you're obviously not buying, jugs of kerosene fuel, but hazardous materials don't necessarily have to be flammable. They don't necessarily have to be explosive. They can be hazardous if they are spilled, okay? Now, think about makeup powder. It comes in a little bitty compact, right? It's a small quantity. But what if I have 10 pallets of that? And what if those 10 pallets are all in one truck? Now we've got a lot of powder. And what if that truck flips over on the road and all that stuff spills out and it rains? And now all this powder washes down into the rainwater collection system. We now have a hazardous material incident because that material is hazardous to aquatic life, to vegetation, to things like that, okay? So when we think of hazmat, we think of nuclear, explosive, poison, flammable. No, it's anything that can just be a hazard to life, whether it's aquatic life or human life or anything like that. So believe it or not, cosmetics are very, very highly regulated under hazmat regulations. Also think of like powder. Think if a pallet in the Amazon warehouse falls off of a top shelf and all these boxes blow up and all that powder in there becomes airborne and people are breathing it in. Is it going to cause respiratory problems? Is it going to cause a cough and choke and have allergic reactions? So hazmat products or hazardous material products need to have a whole lot of documentation. They need to have a whole lot of certifications. They need to have a whole lot of import-export regulation controls in place. So generally speaking, I tell people to stay away from health and beauty when it comes to import. The truth is the margins are pretty low anyways. The big pharmaceutical, the big like makeup and health and beauty manufacturers are pretty predominant in that market. So it's not worth it for you to fight over those very small margins when you have the increased risk and liability and hurdles that you have to go through just to be just to be hazmat compliant. Now, addition to that, FDA compliance is a whole nother animal. Anything that you ingest or that touches your skin has to fall under FDA compliance, and that is extremely hard to get. So understand that if you're looking at one of those products, you're going to have a lot of hurdles to go through. It can be profitable. You can sell a lot of that stuff. It may be your niche. Just understand that there are a lot of unique barriers to entry into those unique categories. Also, let me touch on batteries. A lot of people are having problems with sending products into Amazon FBA with batteries because of hazmat requirements. So remember my analogy of the small containers of makeup. They may be small, but they add up. If I send 10,000 remote control car toys into Amazon and all of them have 2 AA batteries, that's 20,000 batteries. That means in the back of one container, one truck, there's a lot of chemical, because if you break those batteries open, they all have chemicals in them. So Amazon does not necessarily like a lot of those batteries being shipped in because in large quantities, they have to go through all the hurdles of hazardous materials, restrictions and enforcement and procedures. So I tell people if you're selling an electronic product that takes batteries, get your manufacturer to leave the batteries out of it, especially if you're selling on Amazon. Your customer is not going to decide whether to buy or not buy it if batteries are included or not. That's not really going to alter their purchasing decision. And if just having batteries or not is determining that buyer decision, then you might have the wrong product anyways. So try to get things produced and shipped without batteries, and then you have no hazardous materials compliance issues, either with import, export, and Department of Transportation or with Amazon.
Hey, it's Riya Mittal here. Before you leave, make sure to subscribe to SellerApp's main YouTube channel where we upload all things Amazon and some how-to guides that will make sure that you're winning on Amazon. You will not get this anywhere else. Until the next time, happy selling.